A couple things to talk about from the Preakness Stakes. First of all, an interesting thing to discuss. Rich Strike winning the Kentucky Derby at 80 to 1 suddenly affects the Preakness Stakes in a way that we've never seen before, because Fenwick 50 to 1 on the morning line was sub 10 to 1 for a lot of the time leading up to the race. Talk to us about how Rich Strike, not even being in the race, affected betting in the Preakness.
Yeah, this was really, really interesting. I mean, you definitely saw the whiplash from an 80 to 1 shot winning a major race. So then all of a sudden, the public money came in and said, we're not letting any horse go off at 20 to 1. And that's really what happened here. I mean, longest shot on the board ended up being Armagnac, who wasn't even that big of a price, sub 20 to 1, when it was all said and done. And it was interesting where that money got taken from, too. It got all taken from Epicenter. The favorite ends up going off around 6 to 5, which was a set morning line. All that money that came in from there, from every other horse that was double digits, took away from Epicenter going to 4 to 5 or 3 to 5. Because when you look at early voting, who goes off at 5.7 to 1, you look at Secret Oath at 5 to 1, right around where we projected those horses the entire time. The horse that didn't take the money was Epicenter. And when you're the favorite, Epicenter needs to take $1 million more to get down to, let's say, 4 to 5. Well, that million got spread out 200,000 at a time to Fenwick, Happy Jack, Armagnac, Skippy Longstocking, who all went off significantly lower than I expected. And none of them hit the 20 to 1 mark, like I mentioned at the top. And again, even Creative Minister, 10 to 1 morning, 10 to 1 off. Simplification, 8 to 1 morning, 8 to 1 off. It was just the higher end horses that were affected. And interestingly enough, it was just in the win pool. When you go back and you look at the daily double payouts, the pick 5 payouts, the pick 4 payouts, Epicenter was at a significantly lower value in those. And you saw horses like Fenwick, who was at, I think Epicenter was $23 in the double, and Fenwick was 400 and something, right? So you're looking at essentially 35 to 1, 30 to 1, somewhere in that range. So just a massive difference in what the actual off odds were versus the multi-race odds versus the exacta odds. Because when you look at the exacta, again, you did not see that same even price across all those horses. So just really interesting betting turnaround in the first major public race since the Kentucky Derby, and interesting to see how that 80 to 1 winning really affected specifically the win pool in this spot. And it meant you got a great price on Epicenter, you got a great price on early voting, you got a great price on Secret Oath, you got a great price on Creative Minister, who are really the only 4 horses that I thought had a shot at winning this race.
Curtis Manlow in the chat asks, is Fenwick the worst horse to ever go off at 13 to 1? I think it's the most shocking part about this, Mike, is that Fenwick was not the longest shot. It ends up being Armagnac, who was 12 to 1 morning line. And the way the track was playing speed favoring, especially sprint wise, you would have thought Armagnac would have taken more money instead of getting it dropping off there. So I think that more shows you that the public continues to show a lack of faith in the former Bob Baffert horses. Until they return to Baffert, I think you're going to see these prices continue to go up and up. And if there ends up being one that you like, betting-wise, maybe take a shot. But otherwise, tread lightly when they're going to be shorter prices here. Boy, Rich Strike, again, we were talking about this even like during the show leading up to the race, that the odds were so crazy, specifically, and you kept bringing it back, Mike, to the win pool specifically here. Early voting going off at 5 to 1. To me, not a huge shock, but I thought, looking back with rose-colored glasses, 2020 hindsight, you're like, man, 5 to 1 on early voting. That really was a great price to take here. So if you got him at this $5.70 to 1, I mean, you have a great price on him.
Yeah, I mean, that was the amazing part, is that if you liked anyone, you got a good price. As long as you weren't trying to play a long shot, which is generally, I mean, look, I had no interest in betting Armagnac, Happy Jack, Fenwick to win, or Skippy Longstocking for that matter. So all the long shots that were taking money, I'm like, great, give them money. If this is every race, you're going to get some awesome value throughout the rest of the year just in the win pool. It means you need to adjust your betting strategy. You have to look at this and say, I am not going to fire away in some of these multi-race bets that I normally would, like the double, for instance. I would pass the double if I knew I was going to get 6 to 5 with Epicenter, and just play Epicenter to win with the double money, because you're getting better value in that sense. So, and again, if you like early voting, like getting 5, almost 6 to 1 on early voting is a huge number in this spot. Really, it was the second most logical winner, right? So, just the way that this thing shaked out, the win pool became really impressive. Now, I mean, this shocked me. I mean, Chris brought it up. Chris says, I had no clue that the public was so into the win pool of the Preakness. I didn't either. This was shocking to me that the public was, because you cannot tell me that veteran handicappers were stepping up to the window and firing $500 at some of these long shots. Now, you could make an argument that the people who made money on 80 to 1 Rich Strike came
Yep.
back with their wallet and said, you know what, screw it. I'm putting $50 of this free money I just made, and I'm throwing it on a win horse, and I'm not betting the favorite. I'm not betting the second choice. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fire at Fenwick. I'm going to fire at Armagnac. I'm going to fire
Why
at Happy
not?
Jack. Exactly. And so, like, to me, I think that's where maybe some of that money came back, which hopefully, I mean, that'd be great, because it would be great for it to have some of that Rich Strike money back into the horse racing betting pool, because let's be honest, a lot of the people that won on Rich Strike are not people that bet every day, right? So having some of that money back into that daily churn would be great. But to me, this is just one of those baffling things. I'm really interested to see what happens on Belmont Day, if we have the same thing. If so, you really got to save some of your money for the win pool, because the win pool was the best bet on Saturday.
I am like Kevin. I saw Epicenter kept holding at 6-5, and I was like, not 4-5, not even money, 6-5. All right, and then kept loading up on him. And then Joel, then the break happened. So, but we'll talk about that in a second. Let's not get into that yet. But yeah, again, Mike, you touched on the other point I was going to make, is that I think you saw a lot of people who, if you put $10 on Rich Strike, you came out of that with $800. You're like, okay, let me put 50 of it on different long shots here and see if I get lucky twice. I mean, that's kind of what's fun about, newcomers and their first time beginner's luck and that sort of thing. It's exciting for them to say it happened. If you're only going to keep betting the Triple Crown, at least those people who bet on Rich Strike, Mike, I think we've got them for the Triple Crown hooked for a few years here.
Yeah, you'd hope so. And they're up, right? Like, that's the thing. If they bet $10 on Rich Strike, like you said, they have $800, right? So they could bet $50 on two horses here, two horses in the Belmont, and they walk away up $600. So, I mean, from their perspective,
And had
like,
fun in those other two races.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a great 3-race set. I had a lot of fun betting it. We were able to make a little bit of money, but it really affects these win pools. And it will be interesting. Again, I've never seen anything like this. This was the first time that I've ever seen a race bet this way to win. And I was shocked by the way it was bet, that literally all of the money that was normally go to the favorite went to all of the longest shots on the board. And none of those middle prices changed. That's where it surprised me. Like, if you had everyone take a little more money, right? And everyone floats down a little bit and Epicenter floats up. Okay. And like Fenwick is 35-1 instead of 50-1. And, like early voting goes off at 4-1 and Secret Oath goes off at 7-2. And like, that's why then that made sense to me. But like, for every long shot to get hammered, for the middle prices to stay or float up, and for Epicenter to stay, was just a wild, wild betting outcome.